Hi, I'm Annette Pasternak, the Stop Skin Picking Coach. Today we're going to talk about motivation. So, motivation is, I think, the biggest challenge with stopping skin picking. And there's a couple of struggles with it, right? When we're um, doing badly, we get discouraged, and that by definition, really a low mood, a down on ourselves mood, is not motivating, right? It's very hard to pick yourself up and be motivated from there. And then on the other hand, if we're doing really well, like we've made a lot of progress with our picking, it's hard to stay motivated because it's just such a long process for one thing. It's a marathon rather than a sprint. It's like even more than that, it's a marathon where you like have these pitfalls, right? Like you fall into a hole and have to take a couple days to climb out again. Or it's like, those little toy, those things in the arcade with the stuffed animals and the claw. It's like you're doing your marathon going along, and every once in a while, the claw comes up and pulls you out and puts you all the way back in the beginning. That's not really what it's like, but I mean, it feels like it, right? Sometimes. And then when you're doing really well, it's hard to maintain motivation also because it has maybe been a while since you've had such negative consequences. So, to some extent, the negative consequences are really motivating because you're like, I have got to get out of this situation. I've got to take action, right? And so you learn, you make a lot of progress, and then you're kind of exhausted from marathoning for so long, and you're also uh, like, I'm pretty good, I'm really quite happy with how I'm doing, and with where I am. But it's important to keep motivation going even in those instances because unfortunately it is so easy to relapse and get set back again. And then at that point, maybe you're like, oh, now I have negative consequences. I'm motivated again. But it's like keeping up with that. The motivation situation is so hard. So it's hard to be motivated when we're doing bad, and it's hard to be motivated when we're doing good. So this is a challenge. So how to be motivated? Well, especially in the first case, it's really hard to be motivated when you are discouraged and feeling low. If you're depressed, any of that, like those emotions, a low mood is just not conducive to being motivated to do anything, right? So that's a problem. So if you're feeling like that, the first thing that you do is you need to do something that makes you feel better, gets your energy up. So whether that's like for me, it would be maybe singing and dancing, or listening to music and dancing at least. It could be calling an old friend. It could be going for a walk or a run. It can be hard, but at least putting on makeup and clothes and getting out of the house can be very good for you, especially if you've been isolating yourself. This is going to help your mood. Okay, being around people generally will get you in a better mood. Okay, so challenge yourself with that. So I recommend you even make a list right now or things that get you to feel better and have that somewhere so like, oh, okay, I'm feeling really bad. I need to do something to get my mood back together where I care, because you get to the point when you're discouraged, you don't care whether you pick or not, and your default is to go for it. And especially if you're feeling bad, we do things consistent with how we feel. And so if you're feeling bad already, you're going to tend to do things that make you feel even worse, right? So getting yourself to do something better requires you to like put in a little extra effort, and then you'll get yourself feeling better and better. It takes energy to get energy. It's where it's so tricky, but it's really, really worth the challenge and pushing yourself. And ask people for help. Now, motivation in the moment. How do you motivate yourself in the moment that you have an urge? Because when you have an urge, like the tendency is just to go do the behavior, right? Just to start picking. but it's really important to know how do we like motivate ourselves in that moment. And most of the problem, so I'll say there are two parts to this problem. One could be if you're not even aware that you're doing it, that you're starting to do it, then it's very quick, very compulsive. You're going to need to slow down. So, using some tools like mindfulness, breathing, meditation, all that kind of stuff, calming you down, going out in nature will give you at least the moment, that space between like wanting to do this behavior and doing it. Now, the problem is, I mean, the tendency is still just to, when you have an urge, like all you can think of is how much you want to do this, right? And so it may seem like you don't have any motivation, but really the thing is, you're just not even remembering in that moment why you don't want to do it. You are not thinking about that at all. But after it happens, then you'll experience all the regrets and everything. So this takes a little bit of preparation. We have to remind ourselves in the moment, why do we not want to do this behavior, right? So think about it for a minute here. Like, why don't you want to do this? And if nothing came to mind during that pause, then you need to do some more preparation. So really think about, what is the most motivating reason for you. It's got to be an honest reason. Sometimes people think of like reasons that are not going to be as motivating, like, oh, they don't want their parents to be upset with them, something like that. But personally, like, what's your best reason not to do this, Sometimes people judge themselves for it being like, oh, I want clear skin or I want to look beautiful. Um, no judgment. If that's what you want, like, that's great. Sometimes people just feel like, oh, I don't want to be vain or whatever. I don't want to, like, I shouldn't care about this so much. Like we all care how we look, at least a little bit. So that's, again, be honest with yourself. Is it that you want to be a good influence on your kids? Sometimes that's the biggest reason. So really think, like, what is your best reason for not wanting to pick? And then you have to remind yourself in that moment, okay, it really is not occurring to you. So you might have to practice, or you might have to just like remind yourself daily with a little flashcard or something. What do I want to remind myself in that moment when I have the urge? And it could just be the urge to check on your skin. Maybe you just have a habit of like, let me see how it's doing. And that's the problem, because once you see it up close, you're powerless. So remind yourself why you don't want to do it. And make it snappy. Make it something like that, like really lights you up and sparks something, like gives you motivation in the moment. So I have a client who, she was like, I want to be Carrie 2.0, right? Like a new and revised version of herself. And that was snappy, and that was very motivating to her, to just be like, remember Carrie 2.0. This is not going to get you to Carrie 2.0. Like, if I don't go in there, so let's say to the bathroom, that's the way to Carrie 2.0. Maybe your reason is you want to be comfortable and confident with people. That's a pretty snappy, short, concise thing to remind yourself. Like, you want to be comfortable and confident. You want to be able to show your skin. You want to, whatever it is. Maybe it's remembering a time that you felt great about yourself, about your skin. It's like, oh, that week on the beach when I didn't pick it all, and like the end of that, I felt so good. Could be that kind of thing, could be a visual. Just think about it and get something so motivating so that you actually have a reason to do what you want to do. And then it's also being clear on, of course, what actions do you want to take? Is it like, okay, you stand up and go for a walk, you take something in your hands, just to get yourself away from your skin. It helps to have a plan. Having a group to report to you, to support you, to meet with regularly can be really helpful, as can coaching. So I do have a coaching group I'm planning coming up. So go to my website, stopskinpickingcoach.com, and contact me there if you're interested. And I also do individual coaching. Total coincidence. I got a letter today. Actually, it was a halfway check-in reflection from one of my clients. She just coincidentally happened to say, I learned that when I am held accountable by a net, it really helps my motivation. I mean, I'm good at turning people's discouragement around, for one thing. I can see it with a different eye, get you out of that, get you going again. Okay, I'm very interested in what you find motivating personally. Do you have a personal phrase that's motivating or something else that you do, an activity that gets you motivated again? Please share because everybody's in the same boat with motivation. It's just the biggest challenge. So please share in the comments. Give this video a like if you liked it. Subscribe if you're not already. I will keep making videos. Thank you. Bye.